Dr. Jun Kim rubbed his tired eyes. For 3 nights straight, he had stared at the same strange signal pattern on his computer screen. The International Space Observatory was quiet at 3 a.m. Only the soft hum of machines kept him company. "This can't be random," he whispered to himself. The signal came from the same spot in space. It repeated in a pattern too perfect to be natural. Jun reached for his phone and called his boss. "Director Lee, I think you need to see this." 2 days later, the observatory buzzed with activity. Scientists from around the world flew in to study the signal. Military officials whispered in corners. News vans crowded the parking lot. "It's definitely artificial," Jun explained to the gathered experts. "And yesterday, it changed. It's responding to our radio broadcasts." A week passed, then a month. The world waited. Then, on a clear summer morning, it happened. A sleek silver ship, shaped like a leaf, appeared in the sky above the Pacific Ocean. It hovered there, peaceful and silent. Captain Hannah Park stood at attention as her helicopter approached the ship. As the head of the newly formed First Contact Division, she had trained for this moment. But nothing could truly prepare anyone for meeting aliens. "Remember your training," she told her team. "Stay calm. Follow protocol." The alien ship opened like a flower. A ramp extended down to the platform that had been hastily built on the ocean. Hannah's helicopter landed nearby. She stepped onto the platform, heart pounding. A tall figure emerged from the ship. It had blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Its 4 arms moved with grace. Its large eyes, 3 of them, blinked at the humans. "I am Ambassador Krill of the Galactic Confederation," the alien said in perfect English. "We have been watching your world for some time." Hannah bowed slightly. "I am Captain Hannah Park of Earth. We welcome you in peace." In the days that followed, the world changed forever. Ambassador Krill explained that the Galactic Confederation included over 300 different alien species. They had been watching Earth for centuries, waiting for humans to develop certain technologies before making contact. "Your species is quite unusual," Krill told Hannah during one of their meetings. Several other aliens from the ship had joined them by then. "Most intelligent life in our galaxy is much more fragile." Hannah looked confused. "Fragile." A smaller alien with green skin and 6 fingers on each hand stepped forward. "Your bodies are remarkably durable. You can survive falls that would kill most species. Your bones are dense. Your skin heals quickly. You can live in a wide range of temperatures," added another alien. "You can eat foods that would poison others. You can go days without sleep." Hannah hadn't thought of humans as particularly tough. "We're just normal to us." Ambassador Krill made a sound like gentle bells, apparently laughter. "By galactic standards, you are anything but normal, Captain Park. Some Confederation species find this concerning." "Concerning?" Hannah asked. "We mean no harm." "I believe you," Krill said. "But history shows that physically resilient species sometimes lack understanding of how easily they can hurt others." Hannah thought about human history, about wars and violence. Maybe Krill had a point. "We have much to learn from each other," she said carefully. "Indeed," Krill agreed. "The Confederation has voted to offer Earth membership, though it will take many years to fully integrate your world. And if we accept, the stars will open to you. Technology, knowledge, new worlds to explore." Krill paused. "But you must follow Confederation laws and customs." Hannah looked up at the alien ship, then out at the ocean where naval vessels kept watch. Humanity's future had changed in just 1 week. "We have a lot to discuss," she said. "This is just the beginning." Krill's 3 eyes blinked in agreement. "The beginning of something remarkable, Captain Park. The galaxy will never be the same. Neither would Earth." 5 years passed since first contact. Humans now walked among the stars. The Terran embassy stood tall on Central Station, the massive space habitat where the Galactic Confederation held its meetings. Taiwan checked his security screens one more time. As chief of embassy security, he never rested easy. Hundreds of alien species visited the Terran embassy daily. Most came in peace, some did not. Another quiet day, asked Su Yun as she walked into the security office. Her job as cultural attaché meant she spoke with many aliens about Earth's history and customs. Taiwan nodded. Quiet is good in my line of work. Su Yun smiled. The Malorians want to learn about Earth music today. I'm playing them everything from classical to K-pop. Just warn me before the K-pop, Taiwan said with a laugh. Last time, the Glaz ambassador thought we were under attack. Life among the stars had taught humans many things. They learned they were stronger than most species. They healed faster. They could eat foods that would kill others. Even human children were tougher than many adult aliens. But humans also learned darker truths about the galaxy. That evening, Taiwan and Su Yun met their alien friend Plik for dinner. Plik belonged to the Tellurian species, small furry beings with 6 eyes and gentle voices. They ate at a restaurant that served food safe for all 3 of them. Have you heard about the Ilori? Plik asked, his fur rippling with worry. No. What about them? Su Yun asked. The Vrax Empire has moved ships to their border, Plik said quietly. Everyone knows what comes next. Taiwan frowned. The Vrax. I've heard that name before. They call themselves traitors, Plik explained. But they are really conquerors. They find smaller species and slowly take over their worlds. Can't the Confederation stop them? Su Yun asked. Plik's 6 eyes blinked sadly. The Confederation has a policy of non-intervention in regional disputes. That's what they call it when the Vrax begin to hunt. Hunt. Taiwan set down his fork. What do you mean? The Vrax do not simply conquer. Plik stopped, looking around nervously. They sometimes eat the species they conquer. Not all of them, but the ones they find. Tasty. Su Yun felt sick. That's horrible. And the Confederation does nothing. The Vrax are powerful, Plik whispered. They have many ships, many weapons. Smaller species like mine stay quiet. We do not want to be noticed. Taiwan's face hardened. On Earth, we have a saying. All that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. A wise saying, Plik replied, but hard to follow when you are small and weak. The Ilori are peaceful farmers. Their bodies are partly crystal. They are beautiful but fragile. They cannot fight the Vrax. Su Yun thought for a moment. Has anyone ever stood up to these Vrax? Not in my lifetime, Plik said. The big species protect their own worlds. Small species try to stay hidden. That night, Taiwan couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the Ilori, a species he had never met, facing danger from the Vrax. He sent a message to Earth's ambassador, asking for a meeting. The next morning, Ambassador Dad Jung listened carefully as Taiwan and Su Yun explained what they had learned. This troubles me, the ambassador said. Earth joined the Confederation to make friends, not to stand by while some are eaten. What can we do? Su Yun asked. We're still new to the galaxy. The ambassador stood and looked out at the stars. We may be new, but we are not weak. And we were not invited to the stars because we mind our own business. He turned back to them. Earth's government should hear about this. The Confederation may have a policy of non-intervention. Earth does not. Taiwan and Su Yun shared a look. Perhaps humanity would show the galaxy a different way. 3 weeks after their dinner with Plik, Taiwan received an urgent call. Strange visitors had arrived at the Terran embassy asking to speak with human officials. He hurried to the main entrance. 4 beings waited in the lobby. They were unlike any aliens Taiwan had seen before. Their bodies seemed partly made of crystal. Light moved through their semi-transparent skin in gentle waves. They stood very still, as if afraid to move. I am Chief of Security Taiwan, he said with a slight bow. Welcome to the Earth Embassy. One of the aliens stepped forward. Her crystalline form caught the light, sending small rainbows across the floor. I am Nema of the Ilori, she said in a soft, musical voice. We have come a great distance to speak with humans. Taiwan's heart beat faster. The Ilori, the very species Plick had mentioned, was in danger. Please follow me, he said, leading them to a meeting room. He quickly called Su Yun and Ambassador Da Jung. Once everyone was seated, Nema began to speak. Our world sits at the edge of what you call the Orient Arm. We have lived in peace for thousands of years. We grow crops, make art, and study the stars. Her voice trembled. But now, the Vrak ships circle our home. How many ships? Ambassador Da Jung asked. 5 large ones, many smaller ones, another Ilori answered. They send messages demanding we prepare for integration into their empire. Su Yun leaned forward. Have you asked the Confederation for help? Naima's crystalline body dimmed slightly. 3 times we have spoken before the Confederation Council. 3 times they have voted against intervention. They say it is a regional matter that does not threaten galactic stability. But it threatens your people, Taiwan said. Yes. Naima looked at each human in turn. We have studied your species since you joined the stars. You are different from others. You protect the weak. You fight for what is right, not just what is easy. Ambassador Da Jung's face showed no emotion, but his voice was kind. Why have you come to us specifically? Because the Vraks fear you, another Ilori said. All predators recognize other predators. Taiwan was shocked. We are not predators. Not like the Vraks, Nema clarified. But your history shows you fight fiercely to protect what you love. The Vraks understand force. The Confederation understands rules. We need someone who understands both and cares about justice. The room fell silent. The humans exchanged looks. What exactly are you asking of Earth? Ambassador Da Jung finally asked. Help us, Nema said simply. Send observers to our world. The Vraks will not attack if humans are present. You cannot know that, Su Yun said gently. We believe it, Nema replied. The Vraks are careful. They avoid conflicts they might lose. Ambassador Da Jung stood up. I must discuss this with Earth's government. This is not a small request. It could put humans at risk and damage our standing in the Confederation. We understand, Naima said. Her crystalline body dimmed further. But while you discuss, my people prepare for death, or worse. After the Ilori left, the humans gathered in the ambassador's office. We can't just send military forces, the ambassador said. The Confederation would see it as aggression. Taiwan paced the room. But we can't do nothing. Su Yun suddenly smiled. What about a cultural exchange? Earth often sends cultural and scientific missions to other countries. A cover, Taiwan nodded, understanding. We send cultural and agricultural experts, who happen to be trained in defense, the ambassador finished. He reached for his secure communicator. I'll contact Earth immediately. We'll propose a cultural exchange and agricultural development assistance program with the Ilori. As he made the call, Taiwan and Su Yun looked out at the stars. Do you think Earth will agree? Su Yun asked quietly. Taiwan thought about human history, about the times people stood by while others suffered, and the times they stood up and fought. They'll agree, he said firmly. We didn't come to the stars to repeat our worst mistakes. The Earth ship landed gently on the crystal fields of Illoria. Commander Jiho stepped out first, shielding his eyes against the bright light reflecting off the planet's surface. Behind him came 20 other humans, scientists, farmers, and engineers. At least, that's what their papers said they were. Welcome to Illoria, Nema said, bowing slightly. Around her stood dozens of Ilori, their crystal bodies glowing with different colors. We are honored by your visit. The honor is ours, Jiho replied. Earth is eager to learn about your farming methods and share our own. The humans set up their base camp quickly. Solar panels, communication equipment, and small living pods formed a neat circle. Local Ilori watched with interest as the humans worked without breaks, lifting heavy equipment that would have taken 10 Ilori to move. That night, Jiho gathered his team. "Remember why we're here," he said quietly. "Our mission is to observe and protect, not to start a war." Dr. Yuna Lee, a real botanist, raised her hand. "Commander, the Ilori farming methods are fascinating. Their crystal bodies actually channel sunlight into the soil. I've never seen anything like it." "Study it well," Jiho nodded. "We need to maintain our cover as an agricultural mission." Captain Kwan, head of security, spoke next. "I've been setting up sensors around the settlement. Nothing unusual yet, but we should be prepared." Over the next few weeks, the humans integrated into Ilori's society. They learned that the crystal beings lived in harmony with their world. They did not build cities of stone or metal, but grew homes from special crystal seeds. They sang to their crops, and the vibrations helped plants grow stronger. The humans taught the Ilori about earth farming. They showed them how to rotate crops and conserve water. But behind these lessons, Jiho and his team watched the skies. One morning, an Ilori child named Hala came running to Jiho. "Look what I can do," she said excitedly. She held up her small crystalline hands and focused. Slowly, her natural glow brightened until she shone like a small sun. "That's wonderful, Tala," Jiho smiled. Ilori children were especially fragile. Their crystal bodies wouldn't harden fully until adulthood. Yet they approached life with joy and trust. As Tala ran off to play, Captain Kwan approached. "Commander, we've detected something." Jiho's smile faded. "Show me." In the small command center, Kwan pointed to a screen. 3 ships entered the system yesterday. They're staying at the edge, but they're definitely scanning the planet. "Vrax? The signatures match what we know of their technology," Kwan confirmed. Jiho studied the screen. "They're being cautious. Watching. Should we contact Earth?" "Not yet," Jiho decided. "But start Phase 2. The next day, the humans began new cultural exchanges. They taught basic self-defense to any Ilori who wanted to learn. They explained how to create simple barriers that could slow down attackers. They established emergency gathering points in case of trouble. "Why are you showing us these things?" an elder Ilori asked. "On Earth, we believe in being prepared," Jiho explained. "Sometimes storms come without warning." A week later, 2 more ships joined the first 3 at the edge of the system. "They're getting bolder," Captain Kwan reported. "Looks like they're doing detailed scans of the planet's resources." Jiho nodded grimly. "Contact Earth. Tell them the weather is changing. We may need umbrellas soon." That evening, as the crystal plains of Iloria glowed softly in the twilight, Jiho watched the Ilori children playing. Their laughter reminded him why humans had come here, not for politics or resources, but because some things were worth protecting. In the night sky above, a new light appeared. Another Vrax ship had arrived. The morning sky filled with shadow as a massive ship entered Iloria's atmosphere. It hung over the main crystal city like a dark cloud. Smaller ships circled around it. The Vrax had arrived. Commander Jiho called his team together. "Stay calm. Remember your training. Keep the Ilori away from the landing zone if possible." Captain Kwan handed out small weapons to the security team. "Hide these until absolutely needed. We're still just farmers and teachers, remember." A beam of light shot down from the big ship. When it faded, 5 tall figures stood on the crystal plains. The Vrax had hard, scaled skin in dark red and black colors. Their eyes were yellow with narrow pupils. Each carried a staff that hummed with energy. Nema and the Ilori Council went to meet them. Jiho and Kwan followed close behind. "Greetings, visitors," Naima said, her crystal body dimmed with fear. "What brings you to Iloria?" The tallest Vrax stepped forward. "I am Admiral Krez of the Vrax Empire. We have come to offer you protection and membership in our great society." "We are peaceful," Naima replied. "We need no protection." Admiral Krez smiled. showing sharp teeth. The galaxy is dangerous. Small worlds like yours need strong friends. Jai-Ho stepped forward. They have friends already. The Admiral's yellow eyes narrowed. Humans? Here. He seemed surprised but recovered quickly. This is not your concern, human. This is between the Vrax Empire and Eloria. I am Commander Jai-Ho of Earth's Agricultural Exchange Program, Jai-Ho said calmly. We are guests of the Ilori people. A few farmers. The Admiral dismissed them with a wave. You will not interfere. He turned back to Nema. The Vrax Empire claims this world. You have 3 days to accept our rule. After that, we will begin orbital cleansing to prepare this planet for proper development. Orbital cleansing. Naima's voice shook. He means bombardment from space, Jai-Ho explained. Admiral, the Confederation. The Confederation knows how we operate. Krez cut him off. They will do nothing, as always. He leaned closer to Jai-Ho. And neither will your farmers, if they are wise. With that, the Vrax returned to their beam of light and vanished back to their ship. Jai-Ho immediately gathered his team. Send an emergency signal to Earth. Full details. Tell them we have 3 days. What can Earth do? Dr. Yuma asked. We're so far from home. More than you think, Captain Quan said with a grim smile. Earth has been preparing since the Ilori first came to us. That night, Jai-Ho met with Nema and the Ilori Council in their crystal meeting hall. We must accept their terms, one elder said. We cannot fight. If you accept, they will still destroy you, Jai-Ho said. The Vrax don't want partners. They want slaves and resources. What choice do we have? Another asked. Jai-Ho stood straight. Earth will stand with you. The council chamber filled with shocked whispers. But there are only 20 of you, Nema said. For now, Jai-Ho replied. He activated a small device on his wrist. A hologram appeared showing a fleet of 7 ships. Earth's defense force is on its way. The Confederation forbids military intervention, an elder warned. We're not calling it that, Jai-Ho smiled. This is simply an extension of our cultural exchange program. The Vrax have many ships, Nema said. Will your people risk war for us? You barely know us. Jai-Ho looked around at the beautiful crystal hall, thought of the children playing in the fields. That's something the Vrax don't understand about humans, he said quietly. We don't need to know you for 1,000 years to consider you worth protecting. We see innocent lives threatened, and we act. He looked at his device again. The EDF ships will arrive just before the deadline. Let's prepare your people. High above, the Vrax battlecruiser loomed in the darkness, its weapons ready. The countdown had begun. The morning sky filled with shadow as a massive ship entered Eloria's atmosphere. It hung over the main crystal city like a dark cloud. Smaller ships circled around it. The Vrax had arrived. Commander Jai-Ho called his team together. Stay calm. Remember your training. Keep the Ilori away from the landing zone if possible. Captain Quan handed out small weapons to the security team. Hide these until absolutely needed. We're still just farmers and teachers, remember. A beam of light shot down from the big ship. When it faded, 5 tall figures stood on the crystal plains. The Vrax had hard, scaled skin in dark red and black colors. Their eyes were yellow with narrow pupils. Each carried a staff that hummed with energy. Nema and the Ilori Council went to meet them. Jai-Ho and Quan followed close behind. Greetings, visitors, Nema said, her crystal body dimmed with fear. What brings you to Eloria? The tallest Vrax stepped forward. I am Admiral Krez of the Vrax Empire. We have come to offer you protection and membership in our great society. We are peaceful, Nema replied. We need no protection. Admiral Krez smiled, showing sharp teeth. The galaxy is dangerous. Small worlds like yours need strong friends. Jai-Ho stepped forward. They have friends already. The Admiral's yellow eyes narrowed. Humans, here. He seemed surprised but recovered quickly. This is not your concern, human. This is between the Vrax Empire and Eloria. I am Commander Jeho of Earth's Agricultural Exchange Program, Jeho said calmly. We are guests of the Elori people. A few farmers, the Admiral dismissed them with a wave. You will not interfere. He turned back to Nema. The Vrax Empire claims this world. You have 3 days to accept our rule. After that, we will begin orbital cleansing to prepare this planet for proper development. Orbital cleansing. Naima's voice shook. He means bombardment from space, Jeho explained. Admiral, the Confederation. The Confederation knows how we operate, Krez cut him off. They will do nothing, as always. He leaned closer to Jeho. And neither will your farmers, if they are wise. With that, the Vrax returned to their beam of light and vanished back to their ship. Jeho immediately gathered his team. Send an emergency signal to Earth. Full details. Tell them we have 3 days. What can Earth do? Dr. Yuma asked. We're so far from home. More than you think, Captain Quan said with a grim smile. Earth has been preparing since the Elori first came to us. That night, Jeho met with Nema and the Elori Council in their crystal meeting hall. We must accept their terms, one elder said. We cannot fight. If you accept, they will still destroy you, Jeho said. The Vrax don't want partners. They want slaves and resources. What choice do we have? Another asked. Jeho stood straight. Earth will stand with you. The council chamber filled with shocked whispers. But there are only 20 of you, Nema said. For now, Jeho replied. He activated a small device on his wrist. A hologram appeared showing a fleet of 7 ships. Earth's defense force is on its way. The Confederation forbids military intervention, an elder warned. We're not calling it that, Jeho smiled. This is simply an extension of our cultural exchange program. The Vrax have many ships, Nema said. Will your people risk war for us? You barely know us. Jeho looked around at the beautiful crystal hall, thought of the children playing in the fields. That's something the Vrax don't understand about humans, he said quietly. We don't need to know you for 1,000 years to consider you worth protecting. We see innocent lives threatened, and we act. He looked at his device again. The EDF ships will arrive just before the deadline. Let's prepare your people. High above, the Vrax battlecruiser loomed in the darkness, its weapons ready. The countdown had begun. The first Vrax attack hit the shields of the EDF defender with blinding force. The ship shook, but held steady. Shields at 80%, reported the tactical officer. Captain Min Sun nodded calmly. Return fire. Target their lead ship's weapon systems. The defender's main guns fired, sending blue beams of energy across space. They struck the Vrax flagship, causing minor damage. They're stronger than we expected, Min Sun observed. All ships execute pattern Tajuk. The 7 Earth ships began a complex dance in space, weaving around each other in a figure-8 pattern that confused the Vrax targeting systems. When the Vrax fired again, most shots missed. Admiral Krez watched in frustration as the human ships moved in ways his gunners couldn't predict. What are they doing? He demanded. No species fights like this. His tactical officer looked confused. They're taking damage they could avoid. The 3rd ship just moved to protect the 5th. Taking hits meant for it. Foolish, Krez sneered. They sacrificed themselves for each other. On the Defender, Min Sun received reports from all ships. 2 had taken heavy damage, but all remained operational. Captain, her first officer said quietly, standard tactics aren't working. We need something unexpected. Min Sun studied the battle display. The Vrax had formed a tight group, their strongest ships protecting their weaker ones. Smart, but predictable. Prepare ramming speed, she ordered. The bridge fell silent. Captain, you heard me. The Vrax expect us to keep our distance. Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons, not physical impact. She opened the fleet channel. All ships. This is Captain Min-sun. We're changing tactics. The EDF Talon and Falcon will continue defensive fire. Defender, Eagle, and Hawk will execute Operation Battering Ram. The first officer looked shocked. That's not a standard operation. Min-sun smiled grimly. It is now. 3 Earth ships, including the Defender, suddenly accelerated directly toward the center of the Vrax formation. On his flagship, Admiral Krez watched in disbelief. They're on a collision course, evasive action. But it was too late. The Earth ships didn't hit the Vrax vessels directly. They merely scraped along their shields at incredible speed. The shield energy transferred to the Earth ships' specially designed hull plates, which absorbed it and redirected it in a massive energy pulse. 3 Vrax ships lost power completely. 2 more spun out of formation. Their shields collapsed. Now, Min-sun ordered, all ships concentrated fire on the disabled vessels. The remaining Earth ships fired everything they had. 2 Vrax ships exploded in silent bursts of light and debris. On the planet below, Commander Ji-ho and the Ilori watched the battle on their screens. The Ilori gasped as they saw the human ships taking damage yet continuing to fight. "I don't understand," Naima said. "Why would your people risk so much for us?" Before Ji-ho could answer, alarms sounded. "Vrax landing craft," Captain Quan shouted. "They're trying to put troops on the ground." "As we expected," Ji-ho said calmly. "Everyone to their positions." 20 small Vrax ships descended toward the main Ilori settlement. They landed in a circle, and armored Vrax soldiers poured out, weapons ready. Ji-ho led his small team to meet them. The humans spread out, each taking position behind crystal formations that amplified their weapon energy. The Vrax commander stepped forward. "Surrender now, humans. You cannot win." Ji-ho raised his weapon. "We're not here to win. We're here to make sure you lose." The humans opened fire. Though outnumbered 5-1, they used the crystal landscape as a weapon, bouncing shots off crystal faces to hit Vrax soldiers from unexpected angles. In space, the battle continued. 3 more Vrax ships had been disabled, but 2 Earth vessels were severely damaged. "We can't hold much longer," Min-sun's first officer warned. Min-sun watched as a Vrax cruiser targeted her most damaged ship. Without hesitation, she moved the Defender into the line of fire. "Friends shield friends," she said simply. That's how humans fight. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread. Species who had never defied the Vrax watched in awe as humans, newcomers to the stars, fought against impossible odds to protect a people not their own. The Battle of Eloria had become more than a fight. It had become a message. 3 days after the battle began, Admiral Krez gave the order to retreat. Of his 15 ships, 7 had been destroyed and 3 badly damaged. The remaining 5 limped away from Eloria, leaving their ground troops behind. Captain Min-sun watched them go from the bridge of the Defender. Her ship's hull was scorched and torn in several places. 2 of Earth's 7 ships had been lost. The others needed major repairs. "Send the message to Earth," she told her communications officer. "Eloria is safe. The Vrax have withdrawn." On the planet's surface, the surviving Vrax soldiers surrendered to Commander Ji-ho's forces. The Ilori emerged from their crystal caves, their bodies glowing with relief and joy. "You did it," Naima said, her crystal form shining brightly. "You saved our world." Ji-ho looked tired but smiled. "We all did it together." News of the Battle of Eloria spread quickly through the galaxy. On the Confederation Central Station, the Council called an emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered to discuss what many were calling the human problem. Ambassador Dae-jung entered the Grand Chamber alone. The room fell silent as he walked to the speaker's platform. Many alien representatives whispered to each other. Some looked angry, others curious, a few almost hopeful. The Confederation chairperson, a tall being with 4 arms and green skin, spoke first. "Ambassador, Earth has violated one of our most important principles. The policy of non-intervention exists to prevent galactic war. Dae-jung bowed slightly. With respect, Chairperson, Earth did not join the Confederation to stand by while innocent species are threatened with extinction. The Vrax Empire has filed a formal complaint, another council member said. They claim unprovoked attack by human forces. Unprovoked? Dae-jung raised an eyebrow. They threaten to destroy an entire civilization. Would any of you call that unprovoked? A low murmur spread through the chamber. Nevertheless, the chairperson continued, your actions have created a dangerous precedent. Other species may now feel emboldened to interfere in regional disputes. Good, Dae-jung said firmly. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. The chairperson banged a gavel for silence. You say good? The chairperson asked, clearly surprised. Yes, Dae-jung stood straight and looked around the room. For too long, this confederation has used the word regional to ignore genocide. You call it non-intervention when you really mean, not my problem. Earth cannot and will not accept this approach. He pressed a button, and images of Ilori children appeared on the chamber's main screen. These children still live because humans acted. Would you prefer they had died while the Confederation debated proper procedure? The chamber remained silent. Humanity has learned much from the stars. Dae-jung continued. We have learned sciences, arts, and philosophies from 100 worlds. But perhaps the stars can learn something from humanity too. When someone threatens your friend, you stand between them. When someone cannot defend themselves, you lend them your strength. A representative from a small, insect-like species stood up. The Vrax have threatened my world for decades. The Confederation has always said we must handle it ourselves. Yet humans fought for the Ilori after knowing them for mere months. Why? Because, Dae-jung said simply, that is what friends do, and Earth seeks friendship with all peaceful species. In the days that followed, Earth's embassy received messages from 27 different species. All had the same request. They wanted protection agreements with humans. The chairperson called Dae-jung to a private meeting. Do you realize what you've started? They asked. The Confederation balance of power has existed for 1,000 years. Dae-jung nodded. Sometimes, balance comes at too high a price. Perhaps it's time for something new. As he left the meeting, Dae-jung saw Plick waiting in the hallway. My people voted today, the small alien said. We wish to align with Earth. Dae-jung smiled. Tell them they have friends now. Strong friends who will stand with them. The galaxy was changing, one friendship at a time. 6 months after the Battle of Eloria, Earth hosted a historic gathering. Ships from 27 different worlds arrived in Earth's solar system. Each carried leaders and representatives from species that had one thing in common. They had all asked for Earth's friendship and protection. The meeting took place in a huge glass dome built specially for the event in Geneva, Switzerland. The dome allowed visitors to see Earth's blue sky and green trees while maintaining atmospheres comfortable for all species. Ambassador Dae-jung stood at the entrance, greeting each delegation. Beside him stood Captain Min-sun, now wearing a new uniform with admiral's rank, and Commander Jai-ho, whose actions on Eloria had made him famous throughout the galaxy. Welcome to Earth, Dae-jung said to each group. Welcome, friends. Mima and the Ilori delegation arrived last. Their crystal bodies reflected the sunlight in beautiful patterns across the dome walls. The place where it all began, Dae-jung said, bowing to Nima. And where something new now starts, she replied. Inside the dome, representatives sat in circles rather than rows. No one was placed higher or lower than others. Earth's president, a woman named Elena Patel, spoke first. We gather today not as saviors and saved, but as equals with a common purpose, she said. Each world here has something unique to offer. Each has something to teach and something to learn. She gestured to a simple document displayed on screens around the room. The Protected Allied Species Tree is not complicated. It says simply that an attack on any member world will be treated as an attack on all. It says we will share knowledge, resources, and, when necessary, defense. Ta-One and Su-Yun sat in the Earth delegation, watching as each species reviewed the treaty. "Did you ever imagine this when we first heard about the Ilori from Plick?" Su-Yun whispered. Ta-One shook his head. "I just wanted to help one species. Now look at what it's become." A representative from a water-breathing species raised a webbed hand. "The Vraks have already withdrawn ships from our sector. Just the rumor of this alliance has changed their behavior. The Confederation Council has sent 17 messages asking us to cancel this meeting," President Patel acknowledged. "They fear change, but sometimes change is necessary." One by one, the representatives signed the treaty. Earth signed last. "The Protected Allied Species Alliance is now official," President Patel announced. The dome filled with sounds of approval in many different languages. 2 weeks later, Ambassador Dad Jung returned to the Confederation Central Station. The Council had called a special session to address the new alliance. The Confederation recognizes the Protected Allied Species Alliance as a legitimate political entity, the chairperson announced, not sounding happy about it. "However, we remind Earth that actions have consequences." "We are well aware," Dad Jung replied calmly. As he left the council chamber, he was surprised to see Admiral Krez of the Vraks waiting in the hallway. "You have done the impossible, human," Krez said, his yellow eyes narrow. "You have changed the galaxy's rules." "We didn't change the rules," Dad Jung replied. "We simply refuse to play a game where the weak always lose." Krez leaned closer. "The Vraks Empire has existed for 10,000 years. We have crushed hundreds of species. Yet you now seek peace talks with our alliance," Dad Jung observed. "Interesting. We are reconsidering our expansion plans," Krez admitted. Dad Jung smiled slightly. A wise choice. That evening, Dad Jung met with Ta-One and Su-Yun at the Terran embassy. Reports from across the galaxy show the Vraks pulling back from 12 different borders, Ta-One reported. "Without firing a single shot, we've stopped their expansion." Su-Yun looked out at the stars visible through the embassy window. "Do you think the galaxy understands yet what makes humans different?" "They're beginning to," Dad Jung said. "The lesson is simple after all." "What's that?" asked Ta-One. "That true strength isn't about having the biggest guns or the most ships," Dad Jung replied. "It's about what you're willing to shield with your own body. It's about who you're willing to fight for." "Friends shield friends," Su-Yun said, remembering Captain Min Sun's words during the battle. "At any cost," Dad Jung nodded. "That's the lesson the galaxy is learning about humanity. And it's changing everything." Outside the window, the stars seemed to shine just a little brighter than before. The end.